I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is another Patreon review, this time for Grade B, who wanted my thoughts on the 2015 film, The Revenant. Now, The Revenant, I had heard of before. It got some praise from some critics. I just never got around to watching it, mainly for time. Also, when a movie is 2.5, 3 hours long, I'm a little bit iffy. Not that there hasn't been longer films that I haven't enjoyed. There have. Blade Runner 2049, for example. But just with how less and less of time I have nowadays, it's hard to sit down for that length of time to watch a particular movie. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad Greg B recommended this for the Patreon. By the way, if you guys are ever interested for reviews or request reviews, you either feel free to join my Patreon or you can shoot me a PayPal. The info will be down below. If not, I totally understand. Trust me. But The Revenant, I thought was really good. Yeah, at times it seemed to get a bit overindulgent and a bit artsy. So it's little over 2.5 hour running time. I could see stuff being cut. But with that said, I rather enjoyed this film. I know it doesn't make sense plot-wise, but in a weird way it made me think of a better version of The Grey with Liam Neeson, which I was not a fan of. I know I'm alone in that. But how it told its story about trying to be artsy and life and kind of survival, not really. I don't know. I thought this handled that better. Granted, this movie doesn't deal with wolves like The Grey did, but I don't know. Maybe because of the snow and a survival story, and then both films trying to be a bit artsy. I just thought this accomplished that a lot better. At least in my opinion. Because with the film, it had really excellent cinematography. I mean, this is easily one of the more gorgeous films I have seen in a while. I mean, the movie was just gorgeous to look at. The scenery felt natural. The lighting felt natural. It didn't seem like they put filters or any of that sort. Maybe they did, but if they didn't, then I would go, oh, maybe that's one of the other reasons why the cinematography really stood out to me. And like I said, it's one of the more beautiful looking films I've seen in a while. I know the director had done Birdman with Michael Keaton. Get into that film. This one, its simple story setup appealed to me more. The camera work was really nice. Quite fantastic at times, where the director would not only just hold a shot, but just flow the camera around during an action scene, or the total opposite of the ADD schizophrenic editing that we had seen in the past. There are times where the camera flows as a battle at the beginning involving these trappers and Native Americans, and the camera like pans in between, but not so over the top that it takes away from the scene, but just letting us just be a part of certain sequences. And like I said, it's one of the more beautiful looking films I've seen in a while. I know the director had done Birdman with Michael Keaton. Get into that film. This one, its simple story setup appealed to me more. I know the director would not only just hold a shot, but just flow the camera around during an action scene, or the total opposite of the ADD schizophrenic editing that we had seen in the past. There are times where the camera flows as a battle at the beginning involving these trappers and Native Americans, and the camera like pans in between, but not so over the top that it takes away from the scene, but just letting us just be a part I definitely give credit to the director, which I'm going to butcher his name. I know I am. Alejandro Iñárritu. And like I said, the direction and the cinematography in this very much impressed me. The story, very simple. Leonardo DiCaprio is a guy who is pretty much trained his whole life to be a tracker. He knows the woods. He knows the environment. He knows what to do. He has a son, a Native American son, because he had a wife who was Native American and she has since passed away. He's helping these group of trappers go out there and get pelts. And then the opening happens where this Native American attack and they have to leave. Long story short, as they're heading back, Leo's character gets attacked by a bear in a very intense scene. I mean, yeah, the bear is not photorealistic, but I kind of give a little bit of a pass because what was asked for this scene, number one, it doesn't look garbage. It doesn't look like a Sci-Fi Channel film. And two, what it had to do to Leo, you can't do that with a real bear, otherwise Leo would be dead. And that attack scene was really intense and brutal, and this is a very brutal film. Another thing I was surprised by. I mean, in the attack in the beginning, people were getting shot in the neck with arrows, through the eye with arrows. Again, this grizzly bear, it's just mauling on Leo and taking chunks out of him. It just really, you think it's over and then it keeps going. But then Leo's able to stab the ever-living hell out of it. Yeah, it's just really visceral. It's one of those movies that granted has a long pace. Granted, I do see a couple of things that could be cut out, but for the most part, it definitely took me in on this little adventure. It really showcases just how hard and tough it would have been back in the day. I mean, it says here that the year is around 1823. But just how hard and how difficult it would have been to live in that time period. I mean, you really felt the scene when... And before I go further, I've always been a fan of Leonardo DiCaprio. I've always enjoyed him as an actor. He did a good job in What's Eating Gilbert Grape with Johnny Depp, where he played the mentally handicapped brother. I thought of course I remember him from Critters 3. I also thought he did a really wonderful job in Inception, one of the only Christopher Nolan films I really liked. I don't mind Insomnia, except the ending. Memento, interesting. The ending I didn't care for, but Interstellar... In all three of those films, I like bits and pieces, just the ending's like, eh. But Inception I really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed him in The Wolf of Wall Street. I know there's been others. I have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood over there I still need to check out sometime. But yeah, I've always been a fan of him. And I thought he did a really good job here because the character doesn't have a lot of dialogue. So he has to use his face and his body language. I thought he really got the anger, the pain, and the rage that you see later on, because of course, after he's been mauled, some of them, including Tom Hardy, and while I've not been the biggest fan of Tom Hardy, I will say he did a good job here as Redneck. Because he played a character that you just hated and you could not wait for him to get his comeuppance. And that was his job, his role. He was a character that you want to hate, and I thought he pulled it off effectively. Again, as a guy, I think he was in this film called Locke. He did a good job in that. And he did a good job in this as the villain. Again, as a guy that you just wanted to hate, maybe it's part of the writing as well as the acting, Tom Hardy pulled it off. So most are going to leave him behind, even though they don't want to. Leo's son and Tom Hardy stay behind. Tom Hardy tries to kill Leo. He's like, screw this, I'm not going to wait here. The son tries to intervene, and one of those points where you really feel bad for Leo's character, where the son gets stabbed by Tom Hardy, and Leo, again, he's so hurt he can't do anything. And that's one of those instances where the rage really comes out. And then the rest of the film, Tom Hardy leaves with this other guy, and it's Leo's journey and survival no matter what in order to get his revenge. And that's the rest of the story. So I will get into the more spoilers, but I'll warn before I do that. Like I said, the movie, again, it did pull me in by the gorgeous visuals, the beautiful cinematography. The score was really solid too. I thought the score fit the film like a glove. Has two people in the score here, Ryuichi Sakamoto and Alva Noto. So I guess two people worked on it, or each one worked on different pieces, I don't know. But yeah, I thought the score was fairly solid. The actors did their jobs well, especially Leo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy. You really felt for Leo. I felt his pain from that grizzly bear, the frustration not being able to save his son because he's too hurt. And it really does capture that time period well in a feel way. I don't know how to put it. Like, God damn. I mentioned the Gray. I'm also going to mention the Hateful Eight. I know that doesn't make sense because the plots are different, but I was not a fan of the Hateful Eight. But as a movie that takes place in that time period in the snow, this to me, I felt the world more. Maybe that's not fair because the Hateful Eight, most of it's just in one location, but still, this movie did impress me. I did enjoy it. It did quite surprise me by how much I liked it. Again, sometimes it's brutal. The story, once in a blue moon, got a little bit carried away with being artsy fartsy. And I'm like, you know what, you could cut that and you could shorten that. And I could see this movie being 2 hours and 10 minutes maybe instead of 2.5. I just see bits here and there. That's just me. But overall, again, I thought it really brought me into this world, this harsh world. You really felt the environment. You could tell that Leo probably had a tough time making this movie with all the stuff him and his character goes through. If you want to have a character that you really feel sympathy for, Leo really does it. Again, for a character that doesn't have a ton of dialogue, again, his frustration or his rage, I thought he did a really good job. Now, did he need to be nominated for an Oscar? He didn't win, but did he? No, actually, I think he did win. This is the one he was awarded the Best Actor Oscar. He did a really good job. Again, I would say there are better performances he's done. But at the same time, I have to look at what acting was there during the year. And the choices might have been slim. And I go, you know what? I would give it to Leo. I mean, who was all nominated? Bryan Cranston, Trumbo, Matt Damon, The Martian, Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs, Eddie Redmayne, The Danish Girl. The only movie I'd seen is Matt Damon, The Martian. Which again, Matt Damon did a good job. Oscar worthy. He did a good job though. I mean, I don't know what's Oscar worthy or not. I'm the type of guy that thinks Tim Robbins should have won for his performance in Jacob's Ladder. And, plenty of other things that I'm sure people be like, what, really? But yeah, it doesn't upset me that Leo won. Hey, if you don't win for something, I'm fine with this. He worked his ass off for it, I'll say that. Getting more and more into spoilers starting now. Moments that really brought out the ooh shit out of me. One where he has to bandage himself and he has a wound on his neck, and there's a point where he's drinking and it's dripping out of the wound in his neck. Really nice effects work. And he's got to make a fire and burn the fucking wound on his neck to heal it. I went, oh shit. And him surviving off the land. Another moment where he comes across these, I believe, French settlers, these assholes who are raping a Native American woman, and Leo stops the guy, gives it to the girl to do whatever, and then Leo steals some horses, shoots 2 guys. And there's a quick pan, and I swear there's a quick shot. It's a faraway shot. It's not up close. It's not an Eli Roth thing. Where you get the idea she cut her rapist's dick off. But again, it's far away enough to be like, okay, I could deal with it. But so quick, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, which I think is a bit more effective, because if you linger on it, you get used to it, you get desensitized to it. But the fact it was like quick, kind of like some of the stuff in the open, I'm like, oh shit. Or later on, when Leo finally has to fight with Tom Hardy, and there's a point where Leo has a little hatchet and comes down, and it cuts some of Tom Hardy's fingers off. I went, ooh. Which, that was a nice fight. That was a brutal fight. I would still give it the fight to The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones, Benicio del Toro at the end there. If we're talking like brutal hand-to-hand knife fights. But this one was fairly good too. I'll take this over any stupid newspaper fight, magazine fight, whatever, in The Bourne Identity or whatever, those stupid Bourne films. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of the Bourne films, any of them. I think they're overrated. When I think of Matt Damon, I like Good Will Hunting. I like his work with Kevin Smith like Dogma. I like The Martian and others, but not the Bourne films. But that's just me. I think that the editing is terrible. The stories I've seen in plenty of films in the 90s that don't get the praise, and there's like the same type of story. The editing is terrible. Yeah, I mentioned that again for a reason, but get back to this. When I mentioned before, I actually see stuff being cut out. They're like, what are you talking about? For example, there's a moment, although I do like the image, so maybe I won't cut this out. So I'll take that back. But get off another tangent. I like the moment where he looks up and he sees something coming from the sky. I don't know what it is. A meteorite or something. I'm like, is this going to take a different turn? So this is going to be a horror movie? Is something going to come from that? But I guess it's just thrown in there as an image. It's a beautiful image. Doesn't really have anything to do with before or after the movie, but decent image. So part of me wonders if I would take that out in editing. Or there's another bit where he's having a bit of these hallucinations, and sometimes those try to be a little bit too overindulgent, artsy. I'm like, okay, it's going a little bit too long. Some of these images could be cut down. Like there's a scene where he's being healed, and he sees these images, and the one bit I liked was he sees his son and he hugs his son. I'm like, you could have that bit, but the other little bits you could just take out. That's what I mean, like, this little bit you could just shorten. some people complain that it's unrealistic. Like, how could Leo DiCaprio's character survive all this stuff? You know what? People have survived weird shit. I mean, real life is stranger than fiction. Let's be honest. And here, I could deal with it. I could buy it. It's not like he gets off with no scratches. Believe me, he gets hurt quite a bit. And this one moment that reminded me of Star Wars, bear with me, is he's being hunted by the Native Americans, and him and his horse goes off the cliff and land in this, like, fall through, like, this big tree. And, you know, the tree slows Leo down, First Blood Rambo style. And he's on the ground, and the storm's coming, and his horse is dead. So, kind of like Empire Strikes Back, that's what it reminded me of. He cuts the horse and hides himself in there for warmth. Kind of like when Han Solo cut the thing off. But it spills worse. When Luke was hurt. But that was well done practically, but it doesn't focus on the gore so much so that, again, it takes away from the picture. But it's not something I expected. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, yeah, if there's a storm coming and you don't freeze to death and the horse is dead, what are you going to do? And this is a character who's a professional tracker. So again, it made sense. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but the end fight with Tom Hardy I thought was pretty damn good. The last shot, getting a little bit of pretentious. Big spoilers. He gets his revenge. He's going up into the woods. He sees his wife, who like kind of waves and then leaves. Leo looks at her, and then he stares at the camera. And then the movie's over. And you're supposed to wonder, did he live? Did he die? And there's people discussing it on forums. Oh, he died because, yeah, it's his wife. Come with me. So maybe it's that. Some people go, no, he didn't die because there's a piece of dialogue about his last breath. As long as I have a breath, I'm going to keep surviving. And throughout the credits, you do hear his breath. And I don't know why the director had him look into the camera. I'm sure some deep theme thoughts. I thought that was a stupid choice. That kind of took me out of the movie. And the fact the last shot, I'm like, why is he staring at the camera? I'm sure it's some big deep thoughts with Jack Handy thing from the director. But like, come on. So that's what I mean. Like, these little bits I would change. Just have Leo go on a horse and leave. I mean, did he live? Did he? But you know what? I still take that ending more than the ending to the Grey. It didn't make me as mad as the ending to the Grey. Because, I don't know, if he died, I'm like, you know what? He got his revenge. He sees his wife. Maybe it would be the best. And if he survives, cool. I don't know, just the way it was done. I think because you look at the Grey, the ready to fight cuts away, blah, 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 you know. This would be like if Tom Hardy and Leo DiCaprio are ready to fight. Then it cuts away, credits, and then you see both of them together. So someone's breathing, you don't know who, and then the movie's over. That's the difference. So I just went into that because people are like, whoa. People might be like, well, wait a minute, how can you deal with one but not the other? But here, it's a little bit of a question mark, but it's a question mark that's a lot more tolerable and I can deal with. It's not how I would have done it, but again, so there's little things there. The very last shot, a little bit of editing you could do, 10, 15 minutes. With that said, I did enjoy the film. I'll say again, I thought the cast did a really nice job. Leo really had it down with the anger, rage, frustration of this, you know, trying to survive in the wilderness in these conditions. Tom Hardy, his character was such an asshole. You just hated him, which was the point. the gorgeous cinematography, beautiful direction of the camera work. The brutality was welcoming and surprising. And overall, I rather enjoyed it. I thought this was a good flick. And yeah, thanks once again, Grey to B, for recommending it. So I don't know what else to say. Thanks, guys, for watching. Take care. And we will see you guys in the next one. Later.